So we are going to start very quickly, but the tool we are going to use is the ICSxClothing toolkit. I think I could say you are used to that because it's very similar to the SDO toolkit in the interaction, in the way you navigate it. So you're not new to that. In particular, today we are working on the Eco Idea board. So it's brainstorming. It's everything matters. It's all ideas are valid. Just remember to look at the guidelines and take inspiration. Don't, let's say, copy the guideline, because the guideline is just is not an idea, it's just a direction that you can follow. And then we will work on the multi-strategic radar, just in a way to collect the best ideas. So we're not going in depth with visualizing any result, because we are just at the brainstorming level, but we use it as just a converging place where to put the best ideas. Yeah, so we just see briefly aims and features, the boards, and then the radar. Okay, in general, first, as Carlo already said, the aim of the toolkit is to guide the designer toward the design process, having in mind environmental, let's say, reducing the environmental impact. Yeah, nothing more than what you already said. So with the SDO toolkit. So it's typical, it's together with a typical design process. So everything that you already know, you just put inside some of the tools to make it to reduce the environmental impact. What it consists of, first part is a checklist for the existing product evaluation. You remember there is a set of questions. The tool is qualitative, so it means that you are not putting data inside. You're not making an LCA about a product, but you have to make some, let's say, assumptions in this term. So there are some questions that, strategy by strategy, help you to evaluate and give a priority to that strategy in terms of environmental impact. So you have the question, you have the space to write, and you have a drop-down menu in which you can select high priority, low priority, medium. We'll see for each of the strategy. Then what you have the ESPI form, and the functional unit is another page in which you first of all, in automatic, you have all the priorities that you have set in the first part visible there. So you can write down the functional units you are referring to, because remember, the two approaches of doing this is, first of all, the life cycle approach. So don't consider a product as just a product, but in its entire life cycle, all the phases. And the second one is functional units. So don't think about, again, as just a product, but as a performance you are giving in time. So in this board, the ESPI form, you see the priorities, and you can write down the functional unit. This is also useful at the end to make a comparison with your concept, but we will see. The third tool is the Eco Idea boards, very similar to the SDO. You have all the guidelines. You may shift from one strategy to another. You can navigate more pages for even one single strategy, and there are linked examples that can inspire you for producing more and more ideas. That's totally a brainstorming tool. And then you have the checklist for lifecycle design strategy, pursuit evaluation. And this can be made in three different ways: a simplified way, a normal way, and a deep way. We will see what does it mean, but basically it's just you can imagine it's just going deeper. You can evaluate this at the level of a strategy. So how much I improved in terms of, I don't know, product lifespan optimization, or you can go very in detail and you can say how much did I improve in relation to a single guideline. And you can do that with every guideline. So you see it's a much more complex process. But basically this is it's a board inside the tool in which you can select, again, the level of improvement that you have, depending on strategy, guideline, or sub-guideline even. And so you have an idea how much you improved. This is directly connected with the radar, the final radar, which is, we saw already, it could be a tool in between, which I use during the path to have some checks, visual checks, or to select the ideas, but it's anyway a visualization tool that allow you to see in the end which is the improvement that you had with your concept, your final concept. Again, focus on the eco idea boards. So the aim is again to facilitate the generation and the collection of ideas focused on environmental sustainability. And we, not differently from the SDO, now we are talking about product ideas. So what it means that we have the possibility to read the guidelines for the 6 ideation table, which refer to each strategy. So for each guideline, which is a direction, again, I can produce an idea, and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, the priorities are always visible in the buttons, orange buttons below. So while you are brainstorming, you can always check where is the priority. We already said that is not always is not the same level of the strategies. When you reduce the environmental impact, you always have to look where is the worst situation and where you can intervene and make a better difference, much more difference. Okay, obviously again linked to example, so it's just a matter of click on the example and you can have a reference. So how to use those? It's clicking on the button, going inside, click on the strategy, and you can see all the boards. You can read the guidelines related to the specific strategy, and then check the example connected to each one. Okay, about the drag and drop of the post-its. Now you know it's about just keeping your control or command button pressed and drag and drop the post-its. So when they are just dropped, you can write down the idea and that's it. Share with the team. The better is to do with with one laptop for the whole team, so you can have all access to the ideas. And then when you're done with a strategy, you just switch to the other one. We will see that we have a, let's say, a time frame for each strategy. We are not going to do all of those, just maybe 4 or 5. 4, okay. Yeah, so minimum 4. So we will maybe this time we will try to have this time frame more visible also for you, so you don't lose here and there, maybe an idea here, an idea there. This is also an approach, but also good to have a vision of each strategy and what you can do. Then obviously there will be the moment in which you converge and you put things together. But that's, I mean, the way of the way we suggest to do that is to switch one strategy by one. So you can also focus more on which is that precise area of sustainability. Okay, always having in mind that you don't have to solve all the problems with that idea. It's just brainstorming. So you put that. It's very promising for extending the clothing lifespan, put it down. Then we will see about recycling. We'll see later. So that's the approach. And how to integrate in the process is obviously at the beginning of clothing product concept design that then will be refined and evaluated, and we will see together how. It's working on both the laptop, on both operative systems. Maybe with macOS could be some misalignments, but it's perfectly usable. And it's again a spreadsheet. So it's just you download the Excel that Sarah made available on the platform, one per team, and it's that's the whole space in which you are having the exercise. So don't need anything else. In terms of time, yeah, as we were saying, today we try to keep it tight, maybe, or more scheduled. Also, we will give reference to you when it's time to switch. But 20 minutes for every strategy. So we have, at the end, we have at least one idea for each strategy, and we can go on designing and putting things together. Yeah, so another focus on the multi-strategy radar, the other tool that we're going to use, the multi-strategy radar. Then I switch directly to maybe showing directly with the tool what it means, since I think we have time for that. So it is the last button. This is how it looks. At the beginning, obviously, it's not going to be, you don't have those movements in the radar. It's just an hexagon without any movement because you didn't have any improvement. It's just at the beginning. But to summarize, what is the aim of the radar? There could be multiple ways of using that. First of all, you see also here the priorities for each lifecycle design strategy. You see those small circles in the inner circle, just on the hexagon. You see that there are some letters that indicates your priority. So in every moment of using X toolkit, you have an idea of which is your priority. So you understand why it is important to have always in front of you. And obviously we refer to the existing product or the existing reference you want to redesign, or I mean, the reference that we gave you to design on. Then you can see the aim is also to see the improvement of the words of the values in terms of concept. Then you see that you also have some writing spaces on the left and on the right. It's there is the space where you can write down the main advantages that your concept is bringing for each of the strategies. So yeah, you know, we are visualizing this. This could be just an example, but we are going to write everything for each strategy. But for example, I guess that in this case, for minimizing the material consumption of clothing care, just below on the left, there will be a lot that explain that very good improvement. The same for minimizing energy consumption of clothing care, while on the other side, I assume that the designer will explain, let's say, why that is not being considered, because you see on the top right corner of the radar, all the three strategies did not have an improvement. So even the not improvement, it's a choice, or I mean, could be a consequence, but if you are designing that, we assume it could be a choice. So it's good also to explain where this choice was coming from. Maybe it's also related to the priority. It was low priority, so we particularly focused on that other strategy. But these orange spaces are the ones for writing down that. And finally, which is what we are going to do today, right after the brainstorming, is just to collect the most interesting and promising ideas among the one that you generated. So it's just a matter of copying and pasting ideas inside the diagram. There shouldn't be any problem in this case with the copy paste. We made that available and I mean suitable for copy pasting, so no problem in this case. Yeah, now we go just a bit in detail of you know, showing how it could be. I mean, it could be in the during the use. So you have multiple ideas for each strategy, and you select some of those. You just bring them around the arrows and the polarities that represent each strategy. You will see, because there is a connection between each arrow, each square, and each strategy. So remember just to put them in the right place. So it's not just putting ideas randomly in the radar, but we have to see which ideas have been selected for that strategy, the other strategy, and etc. So always refer to those arrows and the 6 boxes that you see around the radar. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the radar, again, about the integration in the process, it could be integrated in very many places. As you saw, the aims are many. So even at the beginning to visualize the priorities of the existing situation you are going to redesign or design on. And finally, to evaluate, during the clothing product concept design is what we are doing now. So we just converge and put the ideas inside. And at the end, obviously, could be used even for communication. That radar is very immediate to communicate to someone else, which is the advantage of your concept, no? Because you can talk, for one full day about those beautiful strategies that you applied, but you have, at a glance, you have the idea of where your concept is bringing advantage, and also it's useful for you because maybe in a real design process, you're not maybe having just one concept in a company. Maybe you have, 10 concepts that you can compare, and you have to compare because the client wants to, to see the difference. So that's also important for communication in this sense. And that's it. Maybe I guess we have time, so I will go through the Excel, to the tool together with you. Just show if there are some small things to take attention to. Yeah, here we are. So you saw it multiple times. Yeah, what we didn't see in detail, that was the checklist I was mentioning. We were mentioning too. So you see that these are very qualitative questions, no? So is the clothing a disposable one? Is the clothing with a short lifespan? Obviously excluding consumables. What does it mean? I take the chance to say that always have in mind the functional unit. Consumables are consumables, so it's not very, is it very important for them to be long lasting in this sense? Or yeah, does the clothing or some of its part tend to wear out easily, and etc. So this is just to give you an idea of what's inside, and those are the typology of question. You see the priority here. Sorry, no, sorry, not here, not really important. We'll see later. In the evaluation, you write. So obviously questions need an answer. So it's good to put thoughts down, and you know, also if you're working as a team, that's a safe space where to put everything and have it in common. And so you can also think about this evaluation more in detail. It is not said that if it's qualitative, it's not precise in this sense. And at the end, when you have, you know, a clear idea of which is the level of the strategy in terms of environmental impact, you go to the priority button and just select one. So no, low, medium, and high. These values are directly connected with many others, many other boards in the tool, as we already saw. So for example, if I go back here and I say that this, I change this to low. So I'm in cloth use extension intensification. I change it to low, and I will find this same here. You see that this is changed. So low. This is the second board I was referring to. So on the left, you have directly an indication of the priority that you set up in that first phase. And what I was mentioning is that you can compare with the concept at the end. So you have on the right side the improvement. Obviously, at the beginning of any design process, this is empty. You don't have any improvement. So no improvement for all. Then the boards, that quite important for what we are doing today. Yeah, just a small thing that maybe it's easy to miss is that for every strategy, this is the small arrow which allow you to navigate through the different guidelines. There are many guidelines for each strategy, so you see that these buttons allow you to explore them all. Yeah, not all of them. You see here we don't have many guidelines, so there is no need to have 2 pages. But for example, also in material life extension, you have yeah, and so on. Okay, yeah, maybe we can spend just a few minutes in watching the difference between the, I mean, in the evaluation of your concept at the end. We can see the difference between the simple evaluation, the normal evaluation, and the deep evaluation. You are maybe gonna use obviously not the deep one. We will see depending on the time we have, if the simple or the normal. But what is happening here? So you have this board with all the strategies, all the guidelines, and here is these blue buttons are the score that you're gonna give to each guideline. Again, it's very qualitative, so the result you are giving is worse, no improvement, incremental improvement, or radical improvement. But you always have under your eyes the guidelines, so you think, oh, I mean, you can think as a team how much your concept satisfied, I don't know, all the guidelines for cloth use extension intensification. And so after the discussion, after the decision, you just come to a result and you give your evaluation here. So this is the simple level. You see, you always have the guidelines in front of you, but you are evaluating just at the strategy level. Okay. What happens if I switch to the normal level of evaluation is that the board is the same. Yeah. So you're going to work on guidelines. Where? On the let's take this as an example. The other ones are very similar, so no need to go all over the tool. What is the difference here? I don't know if you saw before, but before we just have this button here with a drop-down menu, and you're just evaluating the strategy, so the cloth use extension and intensification. In this case, it's a bit different. So we have drop-down menu for all the strategies. Sorry, for all the guidelines. So what the tool is doing is making an average, a weighting of those results, and giving us a score. So I'm putting just some random ones. And you can look at this rectangle here. This cell here is changing together with the evaluation that I'm giving. So if I change this to radical improvement, you see that the number is changing because it's connected and it's planned to make an average of all the guidelines. Obviously, you're gonna think guideline by guideline, having in front of you your concept. So designing for, I don't know, facilitating clothing maintenance. You just see, what are we doing to facilitate the maintenance? Is there something very innovative maybe, or very, I don't know, it's giving a lot of improvement, or maybe in a real design process, then we will see, but you can realize that is not enough for one strategy. So you go back to your design and you fix something. That's also the scope of the tool. But yeah, this is what you're going to do tomorrow. So evaluating those single guidelines and having a result and a score you can see then in the radar. I go quickly through also the deep level, so you have an idea. For example, we are now in the same strategy we were watching before, which is cloth use extension and intensification. And you see what is happening here. The strategy is overall just a title, but what you are evaluating is not even the guideline. You are evaluating the sub guidelines, or no, sorry, yeah, let's say kind of sub guidelines, but made as a checklist, as a question. Okay, so have the number of clothes parts minimized, have the clothes being simplified as much as possible, have weak connection been avoided, for example. And the answer you're giving here is again very qualitative and based on a yes, partially, and a no, or not applicable if I don't know, this guideline doesn't even match with the product. I don't know, if you are designing a cloth, there is not much I don't know, energy consumption during the use because you're just wearing. So if there is a guideline that talks about energy consumption during the use, always taking in mind that care is a part of the use, but in the wearing you don't consume energy. So you just put not applicable and you ignore that. So you see that again, the software is doing an average of your answers and is giving a score. Okay, so in this case, a percentage and then a number, which you will find where you go. You see down below, you still have the strategy, and you can switch. In this case, with the button you switch, you can do another guideline. Okay, but the result at the end is in the summary. So you get in the summary, and this is what you see, and you see the difference in relation to what we were seeing before. You have a percentage for each of the guidelines, not just for the strategy. A percentage for each of the guidelines that is then gathered and calculated in a result for the strategy. So there are these three levels that could be evaluated, and you see that again, even though this is still a qualitative evaluation, it's very detailed. So you can go very, very in detail in evaluating the environmental impact of your concept.
But we will come first of all to make a check that everything is working fine in a technical way. Then we will discuss about brainstorming things, and please do so don't forget to look at the guidelines and something like this, okay? Because this is a process, even a learning process, because we didn't go through the guidelines, okay, to the sub guidelines, okay? So if you read them, maybe you say, oh no, this is not that important for mine, or oh yes, no, this could inspire me to do something specific to my, but it takes you to the understanding of which is the new language of a designer that wants to design clothing with a low environmental impact now to a product level. So don't do it somewhere else, but do it on the board, okay? And maybe the example, it's not that important. Don't look. If you want, you can do that. But the guidelines, I would suggest you that you go through them, okay?